Good evening. My name is Jimena, and today we will be looking at reflection number 14, analyzing the articles in general relation to the topic of from tourist to resident, accurate vulnerability, and the changing of transnational care for the migration and health class. What are the main points of the reading? After reading the articles, um, the central concept and most important idea that emergence is that migration should be understood as a continuous process that defines people's health, not as a single event, and that the risk of acquiring or suffering from infectious disease changes radical in outset of its base. Migration as a community of risks and vulnerability. The first fundamental point is the ideas of the migration continuous, which is divided in different states. Pre-departure, transit, arrival, early settlement, late resettlement, and cruciality, temporary return to visit friends and family. Complex risk factory in I learning that the border of infections diseases in the migration population is the result of a complex interaction of three main factors: the epidemiology of the country original, the circumstances of the journey, and above all barriers to access healthcare in the host country. Specifically, risks big states in early settlement outbreaks of respiratory and gastrointestinal infections predominated due to overcrowding and unsanitary conditions. In later settlement, the giant leads in later and chronic infections such as latent tuberculosis, chronic viral hepatitis, HIV, and Chagas disease, which were not detected or treated in time. A particularly scathing critic is the risks among long-term rebels. This population understands their risks and has low adherence to population making team propionulated effects by preventive disease such as malaria and to peak fever weights within their countries of origin. The prevention gap and discrepancy in chronic disease, the second major points in the inequality and inadequacy of prevention efforts, specifically in the context of high impact the chronic disease. Um, HIV and TB migration from high prevalence regions are a disproportionate effects big disease in EWA countries. The challenge is not only the prevalence but also lack of diagnostic and difficulty in recent treatment adherence, which the increments the risks of multiple resistant TB. The cause of HIV in Mexican migrations. Study focus on how exploratory HIV prevention measures is limited and support amongst Mexican and that these exploratory research after they begin the migration process. Um, Access into charity, lack of health insurance, it's indefinite, it's as a major stability the obstacle to express it to prevention mixes in the healthcare setting. Understand that prevention is not only educational but also a matter of structural access. 2. Was anything unclear or confusion to you why? Yes, Terry was on point and I avoid confusion alerted the article Big Williams explains it. I am referring to the difficulty in determining whether the increase in rates of certain infection diseases in destination countries is due to the acquisition of the infection after arrival or whether it is the result of an undetected prevalence in the country of origin. The document points of data surveys system in many EU countries do not regularly collect or disseminate data by migration institutes. This creates a large evidence gap, especially for vulnerable groups such as asylum seekers or irregular migrants. This is confusion because with accurate and disaggregated data, it has almost impossible for public health authorities to distinguish truly effective intervention. For example, if a high HIV rate in migration populations is due to a lack of early screening. The solution is active screening and access to care. But if it is due to HIV accession after arrival because of high risk conditioning, the solution must focus on behavior risk prevention, sexual health and health reproduction programs in the destination country. What was new to you and did it change how to think about or perceive things? The most novel thing for me was the confirmation of the concept of the health migrant effect and its subsequent acceleration due to factors in the destinatory country. Previous to the adverse reality, and I had always assumed that the migration population arrived with a generally more precarious health profile due to living conditions in their countries of origin. However, the articles indicated that in general migration are often comparatively healthier than the native population, since healthier people are more likely to migration. The change in personal perception, my perception changed what I realized that the real problem is not an important disease if it's but the deterioration of health caused by host system. The risk is increasing after arrival due to system barriers for access to care, legal restriction, lack of awareness of risks and discrimination, acquired behavioral risks. The HIV study is very clear indication the risks behaving increments among Mexican migration after leaving their community often due to family separation and exposure to new social norms. Medical implication this forces me to change my approach insisting of focusing solely on detecting prevalence in the sense is I must focus on individual and mitigating the social themes of health impossibility with the migration process. The problem is in systemic vulnerability that is creating or activation in the destination country, not just the pathology of original. Was there anything you would like to explore further or learn more about why I would definitely like to explore further on the topic of transnational care models and binational insurance policies mentioned in the HAB article. The problem to solve the limited access to healthcare is considered individually as the key factor in the poor health outcome of migration, lack of insurance, and fair of deportation or migration barriers. The opportunity Martinez Donatin article mentions programs such as health windows at Mexican consulates and the levy health return healthy programs. They also suggest the need to develop national insurance policies to provide it at least in the basic level of coverage to the transnational population. My interest is a further doctor as a medical student, and my goal is the health. However, I cannot that I cannot effectively health somebody will cannot access my consultation or cannot afford treatment. I need to understand how cheesy cross-border public health structures and policies work in order to appropriately refer migration patients to resource the transitional border. Um, Advocates for the implementation of the case carry models which are key at closing the access gap and ensures that healthy is a rights guardians of legal status. Understanding the policy's administrative aspects is a vital as mastering semiology. Give at least one specific example of an aspect or experience in your personal professional life related to the main topic shown in the documentary. When I was doing a rotation in the blood bank as part of my technical career practice in high school, I was trying of performance serology tests on donors. On one occasion, I had a donor who tested positive of Chagas disease. I, in addition to discerning the blood, an interview was conducted with him. This patent was original for Colombia and had recently gone to visit his family. However, they don't take an precaution because he completely felt like he was at home and did not especially care, stating that he was no longer a tourist here. Well, that is true. His system is actually already accustomed to the environments of the place where he currently lives because he has resident in Colombia for years. I have Phoenix. Thanks you for watching.